Well, hello everyone and welcome to my hobby home. My name is Cathy. Thank you so much for joining me today. Or rather tonight. I have about an hour and a half of sewing that I can do before I have to get ready to go in tonight. I am quilting and hopefully binding my little creative notions, fallen leaves. What I have done is taken a fat quarter here. I have 505 basted it. I had some fleece. I don't know where I got this, but it's fleece. So I'm like, well, it was a scrap. I can use it. It's not big enough to go into a quilt. So I use it for little projects like this. So what I am doing is I went on and basted the fleece, put my Make It Mini top on top of it so it's all in place. I don't have to pin it when I spray baste it with the 505. I am doing a stitch in the ditch. I'm using black thread. I have my bobbin is still the same dove gray that I've been using. So I'm hoping, since this is a light color, I'm hoping that they don't pull through. I'm hoping the black don't pull to the orange side and the dove gray don't pull to the dark side. So let's get started. I am doing this in the ditch, doing a stitch in the ditch. So I'm going to bring you guys along for that. You can see here where I have this already started. I was just checking it to make sure it wasn't going to pull through, and what I have gotten done, it has not pulled through. I am doing a stitch in the ditch in the center going both ways, and then I will do, it's not really a design stitch, but I'm going to do a straight stitch, 1/4 of an inch from the edge of each leaf on the inside of it to give it a little definition. Okay, so that is one direction done. So notice how I did it. I just took the whole piece and pulled it. No tugging, no nothing there. Guys, one second. I've got to go cut this heat off. And just like that, I am back. It has gotten a little warm in my house, so I had to cut it back down to 65. And I am getting ready to go on my winter detail, my winter weather detail tonight. It starts at midnight, and I think it's about 9 o'clock right now. But I need to get there probably about 11 because I need to do time for the guys that worked from noon to midnight. So, because I have a new backup and I want to be able to train him how to do the time. He doesn't know yet. So, I'm going to go in an extra hour to kind of help him learn how to do the time. Okay, so I now have a straight stitch and a straight stitch, like straight through the center on both sides. It looks good, no showing. So what I'm going to do is start on this leaf right here, this bottom leaf, and I am going to stitch 1/4 of an inch on the inside of the line. Now, even though on the edge I'm doing that 1/4 of an inch, you're not going to be able to see it possibly because it will be under the binding. But I'm still going to do it. And this is 1/4 of an inch and 1/8 of an inch foot that I have on here. It is the 37D. And I'm just going to do that 1/4 of an inch all the way around the edge of this leaf. I'm doing all of the leaves the same exact way, or leaves the same exact way, so they have that detail of that stitch. And when I get about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge, I'm going to turn. And that's going to be the tricky part, is being able to tell when I'm 1/4 of an inch away. So I am doing all the nooks and crannies. See if that one is ready to turn. Nope, not yet. So I need to keep going straight on that one. That one's still not ready. See these? I'll probably have that figured out for the next one. It looks like what I have to do is go 1/4 of an inch past that seam, and that will be perfect. Looks like I need one more stitch, and that one will be ready to turn. Some of them look like I'm going a little too far on them, but that's okay. We'll just make them up in the... Let's see, do we think that one is there? Not yet. And tonight I got to go see both of my grandbabies. My little granddaughter, she was in. Her daddy was off for 2 days, so they came in. And they're going back tonight, so I wanted to go see them so I could see both of the babies before I had to go into work tonight. My little sugar bear, my little princess girl, she's far from a princess, but she is prissy for sure. But she's still my baby doll. She looks just like a little China doll. She's so perfect. And I know everybody says that about their grandbabies. I know they do. But they are perfect, aren't they? All grandbabies are perfect. You cannot beat grandbabies. That is why I am here on this earth. I truly believe that is why I'm here. I was born to be a grandma. Grandbabies are, well, I ain't going to say stress-free, because they are definitely not. You try to keep a 1-year-old at 52 years of age when you hadn't had a baby in the house in a really long time. Yeah, there's stress going. Because there's no sleep being had. Oh, I just forgot about all that. And I'm just like, oh. But I try to help out where I can. But babies overnight, I think I'm going to stop that one. Because that just stresses my body too bad. And I end up sleeping the whole next day after I have my granddaughter. Because I'm telling you, she is a handful. Okay, so I got that first leaf done. You may not be able to tell the detail in that, but I'm going to go on to the yellow leaf. And you can start anywhere you want to. In the leaf, I mean, I just started, wherever my needle was. Now we are going to turn. I hope everyone is staying warm and safe. in this winter weather. I see some areas are getting it pretty bad. I know my sister and I left Arnaudville trying to leave before the snow started. And we did. We got out before the snow started. We actually didn't even hit rain, which was a blessing for us. We didn't hit rain. We didn't hit snow. It was beautiful, sunshiny. Very windy. We did find a little wind on our way back home. But that's just driving from the south to the north anyway, because you have all those coastal winds coming up. And we weren't very close to the Gulf, which is, you know, kind of surprising that we had as much wind that we dealt with as we did. But coastal winds are not uncommon down south. But we did have a very nice time, and I was telling her it was 73 while we were there, and I told her, I said, if this is their 73, I will take this any day. Because it wasn't hot at all, y'all. It was nice. It actually had a crisp coolness to it. And I'll take that kind of 73 any day. Any day. It was wonderful feeling. Had a crisp breeze. And it wasn't wet. It wasn't raining. It rained. That first morning we were there, it started raining at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. We were both awake because I always wake up about that time anyway. But, you know, I got a string here. I've got some threads clipped back here behind me on my machine, well, towards you guys. Okay. And since I'm here, I'm going to go on and trim up that thread. So we've got these two already done. So now I'm going to go to my red. Well, it's kind of the rusty burgundy. That's a fabulous feeling fabric too. And my sister and I have been talking about going back down just for the day to visit one of the thrift places that we went. And I am all for it because I found a little table. I don't know if I included that in the video I'm going to be getting to you guys on one of the thrift stores we went to. But I found a beautiful table and chairs. It's antique or vintage. Maybe not in... It's old. Let's just say that. It is an old, round school desk or school table. And it has the little bitty short plastic chairs. So, I mean, it's not that old, but it is old. I mean, I'm just going to say it is old. Because this is the kind, it's not the, I know they had the little plastic top tables, but this is a wooden table, but it has those little orange plastic chairs that go with it. Guys, it was for sale for $45 for the table and the 2 chairs. Or 2 or 4 chairs. I should have purchased that, but I didn't because I was like, completely did not think about my shopping budget when I went and picked up that quilt Thursday, and yeah, So I ate into my budget by my quilt amount. And so I didn't buy it. I actually didn't buy anything thrifting this time, but we got some beautiful ideas. And now we know my sister collects Johnson Brothers, and I might have already said that in our thrift video that y'all should be seeing soon if I haven't already released it before this one. But my sister collects the Majestic, whatever, I guess it's what it is. It's the turkey. The Johnson Brothers turkey. You know, everybody wants that turkey platter. And she has a turkey platter, but it's not the Johnson Brothers. And she keeps looking for the Johnson Brother turkey platter. Well, I know I've included it in one of the slideshows. The platter she did find. It's the Johnson Brother Christmas one or Thanksgiving one, but it's not the turkey. But it's beautiful. And guys, that thing was $200 and something, I think. I don't know that I showed prices, but my sister, she was like, oh, I've got to save my money up and come back and get that. She loves that. And that's how both of us are. We are very budget oriented and minded. She actually has envelopes. She does the envelope stuffing budget thing and does really well at it. She does a lot better than I do. I don't do that. I leave it in my bank and just move it over to a savings account. So I don't spend, well, I could spend it either way. If I actually need it, I can move it over. But if it goes into my credit union account, that's strictly travel and things like that. Travel and Christmas. And she's like, I'm going to save my money and go get that. But I saw a lot of beautiful, beautiful, beautiful pieces there. And I am a vintage glassware person. I love vintage glass. I love anything vintage, really, just because I feel like it has a story to tell and its life is not over yet. And you can probably tell by me saying that. When I was in college, I was working on my master's in gerontology because I always feel like everyone has a story to tell. And no one more so than our older generation. They all have stories to tell. And when my grandmother was still here, I would go sit with her on Saturdays and we would crochet together. And I would just listen to her talking about, she didn't do this often. So, I mean, it wasn't like every Saturday thing I got to hear a story. But I would always try to get her to talk about things. You know, and I really miss hearing her stories. She would always tell us stories. You know, well, me, I don't know if any of my other siblings had the pleasure of it. But I lived right next door to her, and my uncle was a pastor. And whenever he would go on the weekends, because it wasn't at a church very close, but he would go to the parsonage on the weekend and stay for the weekend to do his sermon on Sunday. And they were the primary caregivers for my grandmother. Now, she did not live with them. She lived on her own. But they could literally see each other's houses. And I lived between them. So what I would do is on the weekends when they had to be gone, I don't know that she knew that's what we were doing, but I would go stay with her. Not overnight. I would just go sit with her on Saturdays because, number one, she didn't go anywhere. I didn't want her to be lonely. You know, I mean, she had put her whole life into caring for people because she sat with people in the nursing home. That was what her job was. I don't know. I can remember her in her little, it looked like a nurse's uniform. It was a white uniform. And it had the little hat and all, but she wasn't a nurse. She sat. She might have had like a CNA, or what we call a CNA now. She might have had something like that. But I can remember she always sat with people in the hospital or the nursing home. That was her job. And then when my granddaddy got really sick, she just stayed home. Because I can remember, she didn't really drive. She knew how to drive, but she didn't do it. She didn't drive. And I can remember my granddaddy carrying her to the nursing home and then going and picking her up. Now this is my daddy's mother. I loved all my grandparents, but my daddy's mama, there was a special bond there with her. My mama's mom was an absolute wonderful cook. I can remember her house always smelled so wonderful. Southern country breakfast. She would have potatoes somehow cooked. Normally they were like what I call like sauteed potatoes, potatoes and onions, southern sauteed potatoes. They were delicious. But she'd always have bacon and eggs and biscuits. Oh my goodness, those biscuits were divine. Oh, y'all, I've already got this sewed. Got it quilted, and I'm just sitting here talking. But my mama's mom, man, my daddy's mom, she could cook some good food too. Man, I loved her fried chicken. And my aunt, my favorite of hers was chicken and dumplings. And my mama's mom, man, them biscuits. Whew. She had the best biscuits. We called them cat heads. They were huge, just extremely large biscuits. Okay, guys. I hope you can see that detailing there. So I have that done. I'm not even sure where I am at on time right now. But I am going to remove my table here. I'm going to trim this up. And get it ready. Well, I guess I do need to baste around the edge of it. Yeah, let me do that before I... See, my brain it just isn't where it needs to be a lot of times. It don't think straight these hours of the night. I'm just going to do like 1/8 of an inch base stitch all the way around. Just to keep everything laid down, and that'll make it easier to do the... Now for some reason that one's a little bit shorter, but it's okay because it's one that's already stitched down. Oh, I know why that one is shorter. That's probably one of the pieces I didn't cut quite right and had to cut additional pieces off of it. But what I do is I just go through and I base stitch all the way around so it lays down. It just makes it easier to bind. Okay, guys, so this here, I do have it where it is not going to come apart on us. So I believe I probably need to put a black, see that there? I did have some black threads come through in some places, but people aren't really going to be looking at the back. But I like the back to look just as nice as the front. And I'm throwing my threads away, guys, in a garbage can I have right next to me. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove my tray. I'm going to trim these edges off. I'm going to press my binding strip. I'm going to get that done, and I will be right back after I have it all done. Okay, so now I have my binding done. It's on, I guess this is called a Binding Betty. Not sure, I can't remember what it's called. But I've got my binding done. I'm ready to start sewing this on to my back of my project. I'm going to put my little binding right there on the back there. I am going to sew my binding on at 3/8 of an inch. It seems like, or at the very edge of the, where your feed dogs are, whatever those are called, your little groovy feet down in the bottom of your machine. I never can remember what things like that are called. But I am going to put my fabric right there on the edge of that. And I think that's about 3/8. I just noticed I didn't go in far enough, so I need to pull those stitches out. I needed to go in at least halfway to give myself that extra space when it's time to attach the two ends. I don't want it to be too close together. So let me get that out of there. There we go. Easy peasy, just like that. But what I am doing, I am putting my bind all the way to the top. I am going to start right below the middle of my little Make It Mini on the back. That way it'll give me more space. But we are going to just get this sewn on and get it to that first corner there. I'm holding that down with my fingers so I can kind of watch it and know where I'm at. And then I am going to turn and sew right off the edge of that. I do cut my thread. A lot of people can do this without doing that, but not me. Well, for some reason my thread isn't cutting. My bobbin thread isn't cutting. Well, that's unusual. And I go straight up and straight down. And when I go back down, I make sure that I am catching that corner. I don't want to go too far up, but I do want to catch that corner there, so it makes a pretty mitered corner there. I wasn't catching it before, and I just realized it doesn't make a pretty mitered corner unless you catch that. And you can feel it. You can feel where it laps over there. You can feel that really well. Making sure I stay lined up there on the edge. Okay, and once I get close to the edge, I will pull my binding straight, and then I will put my fingernail right behind the piece that I'm doing so I can watch and make sure I'm getting about 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch. And then I go off that corner at a diagonal. What I'm doing is I'm pulling my binding straight. And when I say straight, I make sure this back edge is perfectly straight. Right here, I make sure this edge goes straight on out with that fabric, that it's just a straight line. Once I have it in a straight line, I will fold it over. And then I make sure that this top edge with that fold in it is a straight line as well. And then once again, when we get it under that needle, we are making sure that we get into the folds of the 2 pieces of binding there. So we get that pretty crisp mitered edge. And then we line that all up again. But I'm so happy to get this done. I was really hoping to get this done for the fall so I could have had it on my mantle at fall, but I didn't. But it's okay because I am getting it done now. Turn it and go right off that. Okay. Well, that time it actually cut my bobbin thread. Now, the binding that I'm using did come in the subscription box. Oh, I hope I've got enough because I just pulled my last bit off of the spool here. So, hoping I have enough. I'm sure I do. I'm sure there's plenty. You may wonder why I do the 3/8 inch instead of the 1/4 inch. The 3/8 inch, for some reason, someone had told me about this in my comments. A subscriber or a viewer had told me about this. They do the 3/8 because I was having a really tiny binding on the back and the front was really big. And I didn't like that. I wanted my bindings to be about the same size on both sides. And I'm noticing when I press this did not press even. But that's okay. Even if it didn't press even, we're going to make the most of it. And we're just going to do this. Now, since this is not a quilt, I'm going to do, and it is harder to do it the way I'm probably about to do it, because I'm used to doing it at an angle. Well, doing it at an angle, it takes me 2 or 3 tries to get it right. This way is done. Let me do a back stitch here. And then I'm cutting that thread because now I have to attach the 2 pieces. Okay. I normally do it where I do an angle, where it's at an angle so it's not real thick. Being that this is just going to sit on my mantle, I'm not going to worry about that. I am going to fold this I'm going to give it a couple inches there. And I'm going to press this. I don't know if you can see this. I'll try to pull my little pressing mat here close to me. This is a Martelli roundabout. This is what Creative Notions gave away in their, which one was it? August or September? The one with the red and white. That one, in that box. So with this one here, I'm going to overlap it by about 1/4 of an inch. I believe that's what that is. What it is. Okay, so when I cut these, this one here, I'm going to cut at the, I'm going to cut both of them at the bend. Because that gives me 1/4 of an inch on each one of them extra. Now, I would not do this on a quilt. But since this is just a little, going to be on my mantle and it's not going to be on a quilt, no one's really going to know. But a quilt, I will do the bind at a diagonal. So how I do this is my outside, and I put my two outsides together. Now, I do have to pull this up, and I'm going to pin it so it stays together. But I also need to pin my two pieces of fabric here, because that's kind of tight. Yeah, I got it a little too tight. I should have left almost the whole thing unsewn on that side. But I didn't, and that's okay. We're going to work on this anyway. We're going to get this sewn together, and I'm just evening up that side. I need to get a pin in it just to keep it together, because it is a tight fit here. So now this one is at 1/4 of an inch, and make sure you're on that 1/4 of an inch, because that's where you cut it. Okay, so now we have those two sewn together. Take that pin out. And what I will do is press my seams flat, go in the same direction. Now, this is why you don't want to do this with a quilt, because that adds bulk, and you don't want that bulk on a quilt. This is not going to matter. So now what I have to do is come back up here where I stopped and get on that 3/8 inch again. And make sure I'm lined up here good. And see, it does work really well. Guys, I am almost out of time. Yeah, I've got about 30 minutes right now, so we will see how fast I can get this done. So let's just get started rolling it over real quick. Got that seam there. I'm going to roll it over and just get started down here. Now, I believe these are going to be on 1/4 of an inch, but what I do is I set my foot on the edge of the binding. On that 1/8 of an inch, and that is where I keep my foot. I'm going to go on and press that corner out. Let me get these threads. I have some threads I need to be cutting here. I'm not going to let myself get into a rush because I'm running out of time. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take my time, because that'll be 10:30, and that's actually when I need to be leaving. Okay, so what I've done, and now what I'm doing, I probably actually sewed too close to the edge, but it's going to be okay because I can fold that over, keep that on that stain stitch, and I can lift up my foot, turn it, and then get back on that 1/8 of an inch again. And I don't know why I use the 1/8 of an inch. That's just what I use. If you want to use something different, you can. I just find the 1/8 of an inch, it still catches the seam that came through from the back. So it catches that seam on the front side, or that stitch line, it catches it on the front side really nice, and it looks nice. I was afraid I wasn't going to get to sew any during this storm detail, which I probably should be working in my house, but I want to sew. You know, I want to sew. My sewing brings me so much pleasure that or so much joy, I would rather be sewing. And my sister and I, this weekend while we were gone, we talked about YouTube, and you know, she was just asking questions, and because she would never do something like YouTube, even though she would probably do great at a budgeting YouTube. She probably would do great at that, but she doesn't like to be in front of the camera. And we were talking about, you know, how much time I spend doing it. And she's like, but you know what? If it makes you happy and you enjoy doing it, then do it. And I do. I love doing it. And I just told her, I was like, it's not a money thing. Yes, I do get paid through ads that are on the videos. It's not a lot, but it does help, you know. It helps me get some of my subscription boxes. It helps me get my quilts long-armed, you know. So, I mean, it's not 100% expense on my part. So, y'all please keep watching the videos. That does help me out. It helps me bring new things to you. If there's something else you would like to see, feel free. I mean, I love to sew. Now, there's some things that I haven't ventured out with, and I haven't really garment sewed in a long time. So, I do simple garment sewing. I don't do all of these elaborate garment sewing things, you know. I don't serge. I don't have a serger, so I don't serge. My aunt has one, and I would love to learn how to use one. Because I've seen people are making those no paper towels, and I think those are just the greatest thing. Because I use dish rags anyway, because, I run out of paper towels, and they can get expensive. Because you think about it, you're just buying something to throw it away. And I mean, I know it has a purpose. I do know it has a purpose. I know I'm not a tree hugger. But if I can eliminate the amount of garbage I'm putting in my garbage can, because that leads to a lot more expense with garbage bags. And I can make my own laundry soap. You know, that's not a problem. I do buy laundry detergent, but I do make some also. I actually currently have a big jar of it sitting on my dryer right now, right next to my washing machine. Laundry soap. I try to save where I can. So let me just say that. I'm not a tree hugger, but I try to save where I can. And I have learned that, you know, a lot of your commercial laundry soaps have so many chemicals in it, and the older I'm getting, the more sensitive my skin is getting. So I have to be very careful with that. Because if I'm not careful, then I have a skin issue, which then leads to doctor's appointments, to medicines, and all that costs money. So I'd rather catch it in the forefront and nip it in the bud before it becomes a problem. Because, yeah, I can't do all the chemical things. My skin has gotten way too sensitive for that. But I have found some detergents that I can use, and so I just use those right now until it gets to where I can't use them, because that does happen frequently. I'll use one thing and then it starts irritating my skin. Yay! So guys, I've got this completely bound all the way around here. I'm going to trim this up. I do not have my little hangers on the back yet, which I should have already put them on there. But I didn't. I didn't put them on there. I think what I'm going to do is, I think they still kind of hang upward. So I need to press them anyway. And so I'm not going to do them. I'm not even going to look at the instructions on how to do it. I'm going to do mine the way I want to do them. You know what? I think I'll do it like this. I'm going to sew it down and then fold it up and sew back over it. Because I think the way they have it shown, it makes my bind pull up on the back, and I don't like that. I don't like for my bind to pull up. So if I just fold these, sew them on. These are batiks, and they're so hard to tell which is the right side and which is the wrong side. I'm sure someone that uses them all the time can tell, but I can't. So let's see. This is going to be my top. I'm going to stitch them down. I probably should do this. We'll do them at that 3/8. So I'm going back in that same stitch line. Well, I don't think that's at the 3/8. Let me see where that's at if I put it right there. Nope, that's on the edge of the foot. So that's at 1/4 inch for it to be in the stitch line. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it at that 1/4 inch. It should be in that same stitch line, but even if it's not, I'm not going to worry about it. And it looks like it is. I'm going to go ahead and get both of them sewn on, and then from there I will fold them up and stitch them again. I'm not going to stitch them back up. That's fine. It's going to look great. But guys, this is my quilted. See, it's all quilted there. You can see where I did my quilting. It looks fabulous. I'm so excited. So guys, thank you so much for joining me today or tonight. I've got to go. I've got to get ready to go to work tonight, but I hope you've enjoyed this. I do now have one more completion here. So that's fabulous. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. I do try to respond to each and every comment personally. If you have not yet subscribed, please click that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss a single thing. And as always, until I see you again, I hope you have a very blessed day. Bye, guys.